I'm going to show you how to extrude, bridge and bevel objects in Maya. Alright? So, what is extrude? Extruding is the process in which new polygons are created from the selected polygons or edges. In order to extrude objects, you can either select their components like the edges or the faces, or you can select an entire object to extrude all its faces together. Let me show you how to do that. Here is a cube. I can switch to the component mode and select two of its faces. And then go to Edit Mesh and click on Extrude. This will bring up the manipulator as well as a floating window with parameters. Now, what has happened here is this, that new polygons or faces have already been created right at the moment when I clicked on Extrude. All we can do is pull out those faces using this manipulator. We can also scale them up or down. The same thing can be done using these parameters on the floating window. One thing you remember, that in case this floating window disappears, you can find all those parameters right within the channel box under the Poly Extrude option. Alright? Now let us see how these parameters affect the way new polygons are manipulated. The first attribute is thickness. Using this, you can set the depth of the extrusion. Local translate Z works the same way as depth, except for the fact that it follows a single perpendicular direction for all of the selected faces, because of which it might lead to unequal depth across surfaces. Offset will help you expand or collapse the edges of the extrusion. It is much like scaling the faces in a particular direction. Divisions will let you set the number of divisions that you want along the length of extrusion. Keep faces together will let you extrude the selected faces either as a single group, or it will let you extrude along their own Z direction, which is actually perpendicular to the selected faces. Alright? There is yet another simple way to extrude faces and edges if you are in the component mode. And that is, if you select these faces and hold down the Shift button on your keyboard and then click and drag the handles of the Move manipulator, it will extrude the selected faces. The same thing can be done with edges. This is extremely useful when you want to extrude certain parts as quickly as possible without moving into advanced options. Alright? So, this was all about extruding. Now, let us take a look at how we can bridge objects. Bridging is the process in which new polygons are created to connect and fill the gap between two rings of edges. To bridge between objects, first we have to combine the objects using the Combine option. And then go to Face Selection mode and delete the faces from the sides we want to bridge. And then go to Edge Selection mode and double click on the edge to select the entire loop. Hold down the Shift key and double click on this edge to select its loop as well. Then go to Edit Mesh and click on Bridge. One thing to note here is that the bridge operation will not be successful if the number of edges on both the sides are not equal. If there are 4 edges on one side, then there have to be 4 edges on the other side as well. Now here, you will get the same floating window with parameters for bridge. The first attribute is divisions. What this does is, it sets the number of divisions that you want between the bridged components. Using taper, you can change the shape of the bridge, whether it will be straight or bulged in or bulged out. Using twist, you can rotate the bridge and hence it is called twisting. Both of these direction attributes help in changing the direction of the bridge from positive to negative side of the selected edges and vice versa. You can use the bridge offset the same way as twist, except for the fact that it uses a different approach than that of twist. And the last attribute that matters here is curve type. You can choose between blend, linear or curve. This actually sets the profile of the curve, whether the bridge will be blended with nice curvature along its length or it will be a straight geometry between the selected edges. Alright? So this was all about bridging objects. Now let us move on to beveling objects. Beveling is the process in which new polygons are created in place of the selected edges on the object. We bevel objects to create smooth corners. You have to understand one thing here, that selecting a face also means technically you are selecting all its edges. Alright? To bevel objects, first we have to select the object if we want to bevel all its corners. And then go to Edit Mesh and click on Bevel. Here, within the floating window, you can set the parameters for bevel, such as the fraction. Using this, we can set the width of the bevel. Using segments, we can set the number of divisions across the bevel. Using depth, we can round the bevel edges inwards or outwards depending on how we want them to be. Using chamfer, we can actually create a sloping bevel if we keep this on. Otherwise, it will simply create edges around the corners with no rounding or anything. But that is useful when we are going to use smoothing, like pressing number 3. This will definitely produce the result of bevel. You can clearly observe the rounded corners here. This roundness can be controlled using the fraction attribute in bevel. Alright? So this is how we can extrude, bridge and bevel objects in Maya. See you in the next video.